Man, if I could go back to 82, coach put me in. We go to state.
That's right. I don't like the way you're looking at me, Napoleon. You are a strong, proud, splendid black man.
I destroyed our toilet in our house.
Go on.
How would you deal with a toilet just like 1 second being a toilet and the next second just being a fucking disaster? I didn't handle myself very well in the moment. I was, all I could think of was I was like, we gotta shit in the morning. Our morning time is our shit time. Like, that's when we shit. What are we gonna do if we can't shit? Welcome, Long Walkers, to episode 82. Is this 82?
Yeah, it is 82.
82 of Long Walk Short Drink. Holy shit. We are marching towards that 100 mark. That is fantastic.
We are. In the years we've been alive. 82 makes me think of Nebraska. The Springsteen album, Nebraska, and much of We're Born in the USA was recorded as well. And even though I've only seen them once or twice, they left an indelible image on me. The Burden of Dreams documentary and Fitzcarraldo movie, or the Werner Herzog movie about trying to pull a man trying to bring the opera to the jungle, and Klaus Kinski tries to pull a ship over a mountain. Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the random 1982. Now that we're into the years that we didn't think of it. I didn't think of it when in 1979 when I was born. But anyway, those are the things. What do you think of when you think of 82? Uncle Rico, now I'm thinking of.
Jeez. Uncle Rico. Man, if I could go back to 82, coach put me in. We go to state.
That's right. I don't like the way you're looking at me, Napoleon. Oh, by the way, this is Dave talking to, actually from Missoula, Montana. This time I'm in a hotel talking to my buddy.
Oh.
Who are you?
Palmer, podcasting to you from Dayton, Ohio. Jesus. No,
right.
I
hopped in on the 82.
Fucking technology, though. I'm working, so I was frantically, because of course, put it off to the last second, finishing that. I shot a movie. I shot an unboxing.
Yes.
It's edited roughly together. I even have a title overlay at one point come into the video, all done on my phone. These things are fucking like supercomputer that can fit in your pocket. It's amazing.
And a production studio now.
And yeah, it like just mind blowing what you're able to create. So, I couldn't direct upload right into YouTube because there's a limit from iMovie on your iPhone.
Oh, okay.
Like a megabyte limit. So I'm going to try to upload. So I just exported the video. It's long. It's like 38 minutes long.
Oh, wow.
So
doesn't
lots
scare
of
me.
content, 40 minutes of content. I might though, I have an idea for a title, like a thumbnail for it, that I will have to add once it's uploaded into YouTube. I think that's how that works.
Yeah, that's great though. That's exciting. So by the time this episode is up, that upload is likely to have gone
will be
through?
done. Yeah, and it'll be we'll switch it from private to public, and it'll be out there then and on the air for people to see. But what I'm hoping is I can start it uploading, and then we'll bullshit for like we do, and then at some point it will be done uploading, and then if we want to watch, I mean it's 40 minutes long. I don't think people want to listen to us watch this for 40 minutes, but it's kind of it's pretty I think it's awesome. So We'll see how that goes. But I want to get this. I want to get this started.
Anticipation now. That's great. Like it's like live in real time for me, but also for our listeners. Like, is it going to happen in the hours that talk?
We have 118 subscribers.
I know.
Did you notice that? What the fuck?
I don't know.
Who are these people?
Exactly. Who are these people listening and watching?
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. I don't care who you are. I love all of you. Thank you for man, we haven't even been pushing subscribers and that we've gone up by 20. It's like we rocketed past our 100 goal.
Yeah. Yeah. It took us a while to get from 90 to 100, as I recall. And so to have, gotten almost an additional 20 since we've been badgering folks about it. I mean, I put some things in place, and I feel like JCVD works for us sometimes, and the JC related content I sometimes put up, reviews, and I don't know, or the unboxing of other stuff I put, but you never know. And I did this thing where if you watch for, I think after 3 minutes of any of our videos, a subscribe sort of bug comes up and stays up. So I must be doing something. And it's nice to know that people watch for more than 3 minutes. Just incidentally, so I have we did a thing at my job where it was like a show and tell, and not everybody where I work makes films as part of their job, so that made more sense for me than other people, but we're also encouraged to show things beyond or share things beyond our professional output, through the place. And so I showed I think I showed clips, or how we do the teaser intros. So I think I showed them for our Goonies and JCVD episodes. I was like, yeah, because anyway, but so based on that, one of my colleagues randomly, this last time we see each other like once a month, this larger group, and she goes, I listen to your podcast. I was like, oh boy. Because this person just so happens to also really love podcasts, but she has said specifically what types of podcasts she likes, and it is the antithesis of ours. She likes them to be short, about something useful, not a lot. I can't remember all the things, but it was so funny. So when I first mentioned, I was like, this is, Karen would not like this. Anyway, but Karen listened, and the only thing she said, really, other than she gets the idea of people talking about something very specific and things that they liked when they were growing up, and it makes her want to find her the corresponding type thing for her generation and the things that she likes. But she goes, I gotta tell you, your friend that you co-host with is a very charismatic host.
What?
Yeah, that's what she chose to share. So I passed that along.
The older ladies, just
Well, she's not that older, but yeah.
Oh, not that older? Oh shit.
Well, I mean, maybe 10 years, maybe 10 years older than us. I just,
oh yeah, no,
sensitive.
That's bullshit. Take that out. I shouldn't even have said that.
We'll just say them, the ladies.
I was just thinking of the bride's mother, and
oh yeah, mothers. Always loved me growing up too. Wish their daughters did as much, but it works out eventually.
Yeah, it does. So I want to kind of piggyback on this a little bit. So I had this epiphany. It's interesting because you were like, you have this coworker who does not like, you would not, she loves podcasts, but would not think she would like ours just because it's not the kind of podcast that she listens to. And I got to thinking about this, how the people who, I tell everybody that we have a podcast, right? And so my pinball buddy that I talked about on the last episode, right, who listened, devoured our podcast. Yeah. He texted me last night and he's like, hey man, you're not going to get this. I have this buddy who has a podcast, and he totally gave me a shout out on his 2019 recap. And he's like, and he was talking about me. He's being funny. And we were just talking about it. He said he actually shared our Joker episode, so he's like, I hope it helps you get some hits. So
cool. Well, 118 subscribers on YouTube. So
yeah, which thanks. So he said that we were just talking about it, and I was like, I think that we are like a podcast. Like there's tons of content that so people who like podcasts tend to be the people that I find will enjoy our podcast. Because I feel like people who like podcasts are like us, like they want to consume as much as they can if they find something they like, which even if a 3 or 4 hour long discussion about revenge flicks is not up your, like, you wouldn't think that would be appealing. But if you're if that kind of talk of a podcast appeals to you, why wouldn't you want 4 hours of that?
That's
you know
how
what I mean?
am. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I think that like people who like podcasts tend to like our podcast just because of the amount of content and the personal level that I always sell it as like it's an intentional excuse for me to have conversations with a friend I've been making stuff with for 20 plus years. And that's really at the end of the day what it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I said, but beyond that, then we just talk about shit that we like. And so you either like it or you don't. But I really think that is the crux of our audience is people who enjoy podcasts. Not like they don't necessarily have to. And I think your coworker is a prime example of that. Like somebody you would not anticipate being a listener to our show, but because she listens to podcasts, it appeals to her, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's so, it always amazes me that anyone listens, and I'm very delighted if they enjoy it. Cause I know the way in the kind of relationships that I form with the podcasts I listen to, whether or not I've discovered them since they've stopped publishing or, if it's something I can rely on week in and week out or monthly or whatever it is, it's such a personal relationship where, yeah, you feel, I don't know. I feel a part of those podcasts that I listen to, and I love the idea that anyone might feel the same about ours.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
How have you been? So we haven't, we're really into this now monthly kind of thing where it's been, easily that long since we've chatted.
Yeah.
And, like Cabin Kid Logan, who'll be on our next episode, once said, there's a lot of things, like I hadn't just been doing one thing, I'm doing many things.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I could tell you about so many different types of stuff. We'll see where the conversation takes us, but yeah, how have you been? What have you been up to, et cetera, et cetera?
Man, it's so funny because it's like now that I was like, man, what the hell am I going to talk about? There's this and there's this and there's this. And now I'm like drawing blanks on everything. Since I saw you, so with my new job, it's a like multi-year training program for my job. And about halfway through those multi-years, you get pulled out of what you were working on and put on something completely new and out of that comfort zone. And Ash and I both just went through that. We just started within the last like few weeks. We just started at the second half of our training location and we're doing work that is of course still related to our respective fields, but also is in a completely different wheelhouse of those fields. So yeah, that was interesting. I abhor change, hate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so there's that. What else is going on? So the unboxing that I filmed is a pinball machine unboxing. That was pretty significant. That happened a couple weeks ago. I'm excited. I'm just excited to share the unboxing with the show. What movies did we there was a movie that came out that I thought we saw. Oh, we watched Parasite.
So did we. Yes.
We
just so happened to see it like 2 days before the Oscars. So it was like when it was winning all the things, we were like, fuck yeah, win that. but yeah, I was, when I saw a trailer for that at the Alamo Draft House, and they did this. This was like, so it was Since You Came to Visit in the summer, but before it was released in theaters in America, and it was something that they must do from time to time. But they were basically endorsing it. They're like, "This is an Alamo Draft House pick. You should see it." And at the time, like a Korean film, it seemed like a Korean horror film, which I guess it is, though it's more along the lines of like a Get Out, I would say, social thriller than a true horror, and with the name Parasite. Anyway, but so I had made note to tell you about it because the trailer was so, and the way that they were talking it up, I was like, oh, I probably should know about this, and then I forgot, and then it was like everywhere anyway. Yeah. So you saw it. How did it hit you?
Oh man, that's not my first foray into one of that director's movies. I don't know if I've talked about it on here before, but he did Snowpiercer, which was this like amazingly visual. His symbolism that he uses is fantastic because what you're actually seeing isn't actually what he's trying to tell you ever. You know what I mean? And Snowpiercer is this beautiful science fiction post-apocalyptic film. The father from Parasite is in Snowpiercer, but it's actually an English film. Like it's got Chris Evans in it, the Captain America, and
I remember hearing about this a few years ago when it came out. I just never got around to it.
So good. It also, all of his films deal with like class and social status.
Oh,
so,
okay. Buju Ho, is that how you say his name?
I think.
I'm reading my handwriting, so that could be a G. Who knows? Oh well.
And the Host is the first one that I think really like broke out of the Korean market and went into like a more of a global market and really made a splash. Fans of the Host are huge fans of the Host, and that's like a monster movie, like a modern Korean version of like Godzilla almost. And,
interesting.
So that one's really good, and that one is it's all Korean speaking. So it's interesting how he even came and made this like with Snowpiercer made this English speaking spoken film, and it's just as effective and just as powerful. It's really great how like he finds the things that aren't lost in the translation, you know, that will speak to everyone. There was still, I think with Parasite, I think there was still some stuff that just you wouldn't pick up on because you didn't grow up in South Korea. The noodle dish that she asks, that they call at the last minute and like, we're going to be home in 7 minutes and we need you to make that. I didn't even know this until I watched another video on YouTube, a cooking video where the guy makes things from movies. He makes like food and
that's fun
stuff from movies. And he made that dish, and he's like, the whole symbolism of this is like it's the combination of two instant noodle dishes that you mix them together, and then she doesn't ask for any steak. Like the sirloin steak that she says they have in the fridge to put on top is like this really expensive, like it's more expensive than Wagyu beef, Korean style beef. So he's like, imagine putting black truffles on a Big Mac. That's what they're like. It's the symbolism of this, like they're asking for this like rich bastardized version of this very poor peasant food, basically. And, you know, I would not have known that had it not been for that video, right?
Yeah,
and
no, me neither.
But it's one of those movies that just like sits with you when you see it. Like you don't. And what's so funny is you don't. I didn't find myself really emotionally connected to anyone. Like all of them are like deplorable in some way.
Right?
Like
you
know, like
you kind of. I guess I rooted for the family that was working for. I mean, so this is important that this movie not be spoiled for whoever's listening. So I don't think we have too much yet, but definitely, I don't know, skip ahead. I'll put something in the editing that says at what point you can skip ahead to. So 2718. And so anyway, the so this is now we won't even have to explain it this for everyone who's already seen it, but I think I rooted for the family, like to just do well, but yeah, it definitely becomes like blurred when they're I guess I always still kind of rooted for I don't know. It's like I sort of rooted for everyone and no one all at the same time.
Yeah, I couldn't. I mean, because the victims are the rich family, right? Like they're the real victims of all of it, and they're kind of naive, but then they just throw their money around and the smell thing that
killed me.
Yeah,
that was very tough for some reason because
I
think it was because that was one of the things that was most obviously just like hurtful. It wasn't like this is annoying or this is sort of petty bullshit. But it's like just, that was tough. That was the toughest. Yeah. But then it's like some of the stuff's funny. Like when she kicks that woman down the stairs. That's hilarious. Yeah. The way that it was presented so nonchalantly. But
and the husband that was down there like respect.
Oh my God.
Fucking twisted. So. I don't know, man. Like the sister was in my opinion, was the most devious of all of them. Like she had no remorse. It felt like of like what she was doing.
Yeah, I agree.
But then rips your heart out in the flood scene when she's like sitting on the toilet and she's like covered in shit.
Yeah.
And, like shit's still spewing out of their toilet and she's smoking and just like, That I think that descent, because you never get to see how actually far apart they live, in the whole movie until that rainstorm and they have to descend to their apartment, and you realize how much lower they actually are than the rest of those people. That there's a whole different ecosystem basically that house exists in, and yeah, lots of symbolism, the ending was just like so tragic and how the house is a prison basically and he did it for his family, like all that symbolism, and like the son wants to get rich so he can buy the house to free the dad, like he wants to pay off the dad's mortgage so that he's not trapped by that prison. We'll be in the backyard waiting for you, because you won't have to sweat anymore and sacrifice anymore.
I'm trying to remember. Do you think that was real? I'm trying to remember how it plays out.
So, I mean, it's in the movie, and I think the dad was really down there.
Yeah.
And the son has that fantasy because he's writing the letter back to his dad.
Right.
But then it cuts back to him in the apartment where none of that's happened. He's like, but first, I have to go to I have to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So he didn't even in the movie that didn't even actually happen. But that's how I took it. I took it as this whole thing was like how he sacrificed for his family and he's trapped. Like any working class man would feel trapped at some point by all of the sacrifices they made for their family, and how it, and I think part of this too is also the cultural thing. Like, the children have to come up and take care of their parents. That's like part of their responsibility for growing up, and so the son has to come up behind him to like take care of that house so that it's not a prison anymore for the old man. Like that's
right. Yeah.
Man, it so fucking just intense and twisted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
I wasn't, I don't know what I expected, and I was purposely didn't know too much. The trailer really sets it up. Like it sets up that whole, like, gonna go teach English and, try to I don't think it gets as far. I think it gets as far as like bringing his sister on and all that. But then it really kind of, it leads you to believe that some big twist happens, but it doesn't tell you obviously what that is. But or even really hint at it all that clearly. But yeah, I was surprised at how much I was into it.
Did you think it was that big of a twist? I was expecting a lot more. Like I was expecting.
No, well, I don't know. Yeah, I think
I mean,
I was
is
just
the
on
twist
board.
the
So
fact that there was a man living in the basement the entire time? Like, is that what the twist is, or the twist, like?
yeah, maybe, or yeah, I don't know. I actually thought it was going to be more. I don't know if I thought it was going to be supernatural horror or what, but it was presented
Gory, like
yeah.
I thought like an exploitation film, right? Like they,
and it kind of is, but it's a
like
little bit more
yeah.
heavy than some and formal. I don't know.
I thought they were gonna like butcher the rich family and like take over their life. Like when she was asking for like we need the like copy of your deed and like all the like, and she had no remorse about anything that they were doing. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
she's like slowly like stealing their identity, and then like the twist is going to be when they murder all of them so they can like take over their life. And that's really what the cycle is like this family just keeps the house, the like symbolism of the house is what keeps perpetuating this thing, because that felt like they were setting that up because the house was designed by somebody else, and then like the new family came in and bought it, and the like housekeeper stayed on between the two families. Yeah. I don't it though, when you watch it, really I'm like, yeah, this is an Oscar winner. This is when you it just looks like one and feels like one when you watch it. Like
Yeah. But
not
Best
surprising
Picture
that
was
it
pretty
won Best
cool.
Picture.
I was surprised
Yeah.
by that for sure. I mean, especially once he won for, was it? I think the director won, who I did find the name and I did say it wrong. It is Bong Joon-ho. I may be saying it wrong, but that's at least the correct like letters. But I think he won for Best Foreign Film, I believe. And then
I thought that was going to be the out.
Exactly. I thought that was it.
Yeah.
You know. So I was surprised that it won Best Picture. I also I couldn't tell you the last time I felt this way, but I really enjoyed the Oscars this year. I don't know if did you watch it?
So we had a pinball party. Ash had some friends over from work, and we just kind of like bounced between playing pinball and watching the Oscars. But what I did watch were very enjoyable. Yes.
Yeah, it was. We watched the bride and I usually like kind of buzz those types of shows, like fast forward through them and stuff. I mean, we have at times like dressed up for them, like at home, like as though we were going to a fancy event. We haven't done that in quite a while, but like the Golden Globes were just terrible. Like it was like, who wrote any of this? Like it was noticeably just bad for me. But I was just so delighted by most of like the little sketches they did, because they didn't have a formal host, but like the pairings of people that they had.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, it was really fun. And then I was pretty pleased about all of the awards. This is gonna sound crazy to say, especially on this show, but like I'm glad he has an Oscar, and I really liked seeing him at the podium for the Golden Globes, the Actors Awards, all that stuff. But like, I don't feel like Brad Pitt's best work was Cliff Booth, is that the name, or what? Like the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's not like he was bad, but I'm like, this is what you give him for? It was weird. I don't know.
That's part of the reason why I dislike. Part of my issue with the Oscars is I feel sometimes they retroactively give Oscars. They're like, oh, like this guy's work, like Leonardo DiCaprio for like Basketball Diaries. Let's start there.
Yeah.
What's eating Gilbert Grape if we want to go earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like then The Departed, like, and any of those films he should have won an Oscar for, and didn't. And Brad Pitt, same thing. Fight Club, fucking goddamn.
Right.
Like, I think then the Academy just gives Oscars because they're like, we should have. we missed our mark.
Yeah, I wonder what it is. Like what the critical mass for these or like I don't know why this is the one that made me think of it, but like when Denzel Washington won for Training Day. So like, and that was a little bit of a showy role, but like, I don't know. It's weird the way that those kind of things seem to happen. And so
I loved him in Aviator, though. He nailed Aviator. That was
Aviator.
Is that the one or Flight?
Oh,
the one where he's the pilot, the alcoholic pilot.
Yeah, I didn't see that one. I think Aviator's a DiCaprio role.
Oh yeah,
which I haven't seen that one either. One of the I don't remember which award show it was, but Brad Pitt said. Well, he said nice things to Leonardo DiCaprio a couple times. I think maybe the Oscar is he said like I'll ride your coattails anytime, brother, or something.
Yeah.
But there was one too where he's like said to him, he's like could have made room on the raft or something like that, or shouldn't have. I don't know. It's some sort of Titanic joke. It was hilarious. I don't know. So I'll take it. I like for him to get awards, but I think other than that, I was ultimately pretty pleased about who won things. I was all just I don't know what was. I don't know if I had like a little wine buzz on or what, but I was talking a lot to the bride. I had a lot to say about who won what, and I was bitching about something. I don't know if it was the original screenplay or what. I was all shitty about, like it should have cut to Quentin Tarantino being like nodding his head like yeah, because I think maybe Parasite won for screenplay. Am I wrong about that? Yeah. So and so
well, the adapted screenplay because it's based on a.
Oh, okay. I can't remember, but I think it beat Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for something. And so I was like, it should cut to Quentin Tarantino like nodding his head, like, yeah, of course, that's what should win because it was amazing. But I was like, but he's probably all like shitty about this. I was like, this whole narrative going. I don't know really exactly where it was coming from. And then the guy I got up, it was talking. He's like, yeah, Quentin Tarantino has always championed my work and all this stuff. Something really nice. I was like, duh. Okay, obviously I was wrong here.
It's fucking cynical. Like I hate when shit. So it's like a catch-22 because you're like, yeah, I fucking hate being right all the time. See, I told you it was just shitty when it is, and then when it's not, it's like, no, I'm just shitty. Like,
yeah, I was happy to be wrong, but it was pretty funny the way that works. So yeah, I don't know, I was delighted throughout the evening by who won things and how just the ceremony went. It was my memory of it, which I couldn't tell you the last time that was the case.
His whole crew of people, like, because they brought everybody, right, from South Korea over with them. I did just think it was absolutely adorable how starstruck they were with everybody. That was pretty awesome. But yeah, I agree. Like it was a very entertaining Oscar ceremony for sure.
Yeah.
I liked
Did you see JOJO Rabbit?
I did not see JOJO Rabbit. Like that was the other thing that I did comment on. Like I just did not make time for any of them really. Like we only saw Parasite just on a whim, and we didn't even see that in the theater. We got that on a disc. So, didn't see JOJO Rabbit. I didn't even see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when that was out. So, we were going to see Knives Out this past weekend, and then that didn't work out. But then that pretty much got snubbed.
I would definitely recommend seeing that movie if you think you want to.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, but I don't know that I feel it got snubbed. Like, I feel like it's a very fun movie, very like well done, like a kind of a throwback to a really fun whoddunit. I don't know, but I'm not like, ooh, that should have won this or that. But definitely see it. I think it's super fun. JOJO Rabbit, we had a little trouble like finding convenient screenings to go to that, and oddly enough, I don't know I guess maybe there's more popular movies or something, but we saw most of the Best Picture nominees this year. Maybe now it's everything but 1917. I don't know. That's pretty unusual for us too. But once we realized that, and Little Women, I would like to see that actually. I like a lot of those people except for Timothy. Is it Chalamet? I don't know, that kid.
Yeah.
Infuriates me. But anyway, fuck that young man. Oh no, that's not going to be an opening clip.
That is going to be an opening clip. What do you want to do with that young man?
Oh my goodness. What is that? But so we were having trouble like and then we were able to see it like 10:30 in the morning at this theater that opened up like rather close to us. And we both thought we'd really like it, but we both really loved it. And it's super funny, but it's also like it creeps up on you emotional to where I won't give away how it ends, but especially when you finally see it and you're like, I don't know if it'll hit you the same way, but the way that it ended, like made me, I was like crying, but like halfway through the credits, I'm still sitting there. I'd finally composed myself. And then I just started thinking about what happened a few minutes ago, and I got all crazy crying again.
Really?
Yeah. And,
wow.
And the credits came up, and the bride just turned to me. She goes, "That is easily my favorite film of all time."
Whoa.
Yeah. And
wow, and that's got like Hitler as a like imaginary best friend. That's crazy.
It's so fun. It is so fun and touching. I mean, and it feels to me like I had thought that that Taika Waititi had like tons of movies directed that I hadn't seen. Because so far I've only seen his Boy was actually I probably saw Thor first, but I didn't necessarily know.
Yeah.
The Ragnarok movie, but and then we saw Boy kind of on a whim, which I really loved, and then I was like, I'll see anything this guy does. And I think when Pomps was on, he was talking about this one, the Eagle and the Shark, something like that. There's one really well-known one that I hadn't seen. That maybe
What We Do in the Shadows. Like,
and then I saw that last year, and I was, of course, loved that. And yeah, there's that one, Eagle and Shark, and one other one really are the only like feature length ones now. I guess
Into the Wild or the Wild People.
Yes,
or whatever.
Yes. But
that's got like Sam Neill, I think.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought I had more of them to look forward to, but those two will do. I mean, but yeah, his sensibility. This feels so much like him, like because he's usually in these movies in some capacity, and so his voice and the sort of New Zealand accent and all of that, and just the general comedic timing are so. It's just like you could see a few minutes of a movie that he's made that he's not in, and just hear it. Like you'll just know, like early Tarantino movies or something. You knew who wrote that. Anyway,
right.
I am just so delighted by.
I need to see it.
Yeah, it's so fun, so fun.
We watched. What have you been up to for this past month? Let's do before we go on to the next thing that we watched.
Oh, we can keep talking. But well, I mean, I haven't. I have been making time to make stuff more intentionally, or like I'll get up most morning. If I work from home, I can get up at 7 and like work a couple hours on my own stuff before going to starting my job. And then on the days where I go into the cities, I'll get up at 6. And so I go a lot of like going to bed early, getting up early to work on stuff, and that's felt good. Right now I've been I'm trying to like focus on one thing at a time as best I can to like just make sure I finish. Like all these things take a long time to finish, but so I've been spending a lot of time populating the dreamingoutloudrecords.com, which is the repository of like my own musical releases as well as basically the friends and family. But there's now 38 releases on that page.
That's awesome.
And it's I'm very library oriented, so to go there and like see that. And then they offer a video function, so I was starting to make more use of that. So there's like a video tab, and so sometimes it's just straightforward music videos, but I was starting to make use of some of the documentaries that I'd made, like the Steve documentary. So I did make a little. So there's everything there. I wrote this out so as to not drone on too much. There's everything there from like rap to country and alt and retro rock, singer-songwriter, and all of the offerings of the acoustic folk didgeridoo experiment known to the faithful as Steve.
Yes.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so for like the Steve stuff, it'll be like clips from the documentary I made. So it's I don't know. It brings me a lot of joy to like see those things there, and I've spent a lot of time creating like PDF booklets and stuff. So there was this one thing that was kind of a outtakes, I guess. It's a collection of like recordings, like live recordings or rehearsals or like unfinished recordings from the Steve band that I was in. with like, well, I guess that have been on the show, it's really only Crams, but a lot of other cabin kids. But anyway, so I made this.
Logan's going to be on next week.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. And Logan's on the cover
next
of this
month.
one.
Next month.
Next month. Yeah. Called the Unfinished Rhythms, and the one like proper album we made was called In the Event of Rhythm, which was Logan's title, and he's also the drummer, so it made sense. But I ended up putting together like a 48-page PDF.
Wow.
That I just kind of put up last night, and I'm trying to approach them all because I was like really thinking that like when things would go up there, it would be like a real special edition type stuff with all of these extras and extra care, and that kept me from putting things there. I noticed like I just sort of put it off, and now right now there's only a couple of releases, really 2 or 3 that would be of a prohibitive nature where it would take too long to dedicate the time to doing those now. But the rest of them, it was like I could, if I just did this, that, or the other, that I could probably do in a week for this release or that, I could kind of make this happen and get some satisfaction there. So I've been doing a lot of that, and I've just probably reached to where I'm gonna soon switch gears to a different project. And right now I'm in Missoula, Montana, where I'm attending the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival and Doc Shop, which is like it's kind of like a conference for documentary type thing, but not exactly. My work pays for me to go for certain types of filmmaking training every year, and this year I really wanted to do something documentary focused where I also didn't have to make something, because a lot of times like it's a workshop thing and you'll create something. It's like I make movies and podcasts or whatever albums like morning, noon, and night. I don't want to make anything more in like a concentrated period of time. That just sounds terrible to me. So I found this doc shop thing, and it's like panels all day, every day, and then movie screenings at night. And I really just found it, booked it, hadn't thought too much about it, and really am pretty unfamiliar with the documentary landscape. I had one movie in a documentary film festival in like 2002 in New York, and I got a taste of what that entails and like the reasons to do that or not to do that, and just hadn't had anything I felt appropriate to get into that circus for. But I've had a couple of things like brewing, and some of them just come about in the last few months, and like I want to be a part of that, I think, for some of these projects. And so I wanted to kind of come out to one and see what that means now, what that ecosystem is like now. And so I am getting a good taste of that. It's been tons of great information, but there's also like some pretty notable people here. So like the American Factory won the Oscar for Best Documentary. I didn't see it. I wasn't aware of it. But those filmmakers, I registered them from the podium. I was like, oh, cool. And as it turns out, I leave tomorrow. I've been here for about 4 days now. And the one session that I will have to miss that's at the end of the week of sessions is that pair. Like the fucking Oscar winner's going to be here for a masterclass. I'm going to have to miss that to make my flight. But like today I sat next to, and it's very small. Like, and I sat next to this guy. I have the wrong notebook. Gordon something or other, but he's like the executive producer of Life Itself, like that Roger Ebert documentary.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Shit.
So it's very kind of small and quaint, and there's fucking mountains here.
Yeah.
I came in like super late on, I think it was Sunday night, and I'm at this Holiday Inn, and you know, it seemed nice and all that, but I woke up in the morning and it was like had snowed beautifully. This really light, fluffy snow, and the downtown is like kind of quaint and cute, kind of like Worcester ish, or Kent, kind of small but quaint, and it is a college town ultimately, and I knew I'd heard of it, and I kept looking. Why do I know Missoula, Montana? And I knew because it's where David Lynch was born, and I just happened to know that weird bit of trivia. Because I thought maybe it was like where Jeff Ament from Pearl Jam's from, but no, it's a different Montana or a different city in Montana. But anyway, so I leave the hotel, like beelining to get the pass or credentials I think I need for the week. And at the first crosswalk or whatever, I look over my shoulder, and I was truly gobsmacked. Like there's snow covered fucking mountains surrounding me. It was just breathtaking. And I tweeted a picture. So at David Allman on Twitter, you could see I walked across this one bridge. It's kind of cool. They have all these like locks, bike locks. It's kind of like an art type thing. But anyway, I've been just loving being here, loving getting to think about my own documentary projects and how they might fit into these kind of environments, see other people's work, and after they've talked about it and stuff. It's been pretty overwhelming, but really, really fun. Awesome. I made time to watch this one documentary that I'm trying to remember if we talked about it or not. It's actually, I tried to watch something else and the service wasn't working. Like I actually have a subscription to the Criterion channel or the app right now. And so I've been trying to watch stuff on that, and it wasn't working. So I was like, well, maybe Netflix works. And it's one of those things they must, whatever Netflix, whoever they're in bed with, like their shit works where some other streaming services might not in certain places. But there's this thing. So, you know, I don't really do a lot with that service, but I used to add, I mean, I watch stuff with the bride or whatever, but I don't add things to my own list or account very often.
Right.
So most of what I had added there is long since like been taken off. So the list is really short, but on it still was this movie called Raiders, the making of the greatest fan film of all time. Have you ever heard of this?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
I ended up watching that. It was bananas great. And it's these kids in the 80s that took like 7 years plus to film a shot-for-shot remake of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark, yeah.
And so I watched that the other night.
And they're since grown up now, right?
Yeah, like, and they reunite to film the one scene that they didn't do as kids, which was like the end and where there's like explosions and a plane and all this. And it kind of cuts back and forth between them as adults reuniting to do this, and then the kind of story of them as kids. And yeah, listeners to our podcast beyond this first episode will likely know that I did something similar, except for my friend Jacko and I did our best to do a panel-for-panel remake. I guess it's remake, but we tried to refilm The Crow, the comic book, The Crow, from the comic book. But we were not as diehard diligent about copying the Indiana Jones thing.
The framing.
Yeah, they copied the framing and stuff like specifically. But what's interesting with their project is that we took like 4 years. They took, I think, 7, and like you watch them grow from like 10-year-olds to 18-year-olds, like, and it's not in sequence that they filmed. So it's like, and then it's them as like 30, 40-year-olds and stuff. Anyway, I can't believe it took me as long as it did to watch it, but. So that's kind of, I don't know. That's one of some of what I've been up to 25 minutes later. So you were gonna, before you gave me a chance to take that route. No. Do you have anything fun to drink? I just realized, I haven't done that. We don't have to.
Shit.
But
do you have something? I can go down and get something if you have something.
You don't have to, but I do have a little, like a growler of wine or half a growler of wine that I got nearby. I was going to get beer, but they were all like 12%. And so I was like, if I get a growler, even the smallest of that, I'm going to end up in trouble. So I have pretty much, I've been drinking a soda. But I have pretty much switched to seltzer water. Oh, really?
That's
water. My jam. We can drink that. Yeah. That's what I have. That's all I have to crack. That's generally what I do is I pound LaCroix most days.
I don't have anything up here. I didn't bring anything up with me. I was ill prepared.
We'll just skip.
And we're eating up all the bandwidth right now, so this isn't going to upload in time. But let me run down, and I'll just grab something to drink real quick.
Oh, okay.
It'll just take me a second.
Yeah, only if you want to. Otherwise, I'll just cut that out.
No. Let me go get something.
Okay.
Jesus, we've done this just about every show. Hang on.
It's all right. But yeah, go ahead.
We met a pair of young movie makers who are filming their own version of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Their summer project is the subject of tonight's page 13.
It's become a cult favorite.
They used real snakes, did their own stunts, and nearly burnt down their mom's house.
I don't know how to explain this, but it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, remade shot for shot by 11-year-old kids in 1982.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it.
Just the idea that these two guys
were able to make this movie over a period of 7 years, to me, is absolutely mind-boggling.
They were in college by the time it was finished.
Who's got that much time and energy?
The fact that they didn't burn down the house is a miracle.
Seems like a good example of bad parenting.
You're not just watching Raiders, you're rooting for the kids to succeed.
It was the best feeling I ever had in my life. We kind of missed out on our childhood. But the whole time we realized we were filming our childhood.
Once that became part of their lives, it's almost as if they've never been able to shake it, even up until now.
Let's see here. Let's go with the Neapolitan.
All right.
And you got wine, right?
I got wine, but I'm gonna crack a LaCroix because it'll make noise, and I'll switch back and forth so as not to be like hammered.
Awesome.
Okay.
You ready? On
I'm
3.
ready.
And 3. Oh yeah. Oh man. Yeasty.
Oh, another thing I watched that I don't have to get into much, but it has to do with my glassware here. We watched The Irishman finally, which I really enjoyed, and in that there's a lot of scenes at an Italian restaurant where they're drinking wine out of like these kind of taller, skinny glasses that I was just like, we watched it in like 3 sittings, and so I think between the first and second, I scoured the internet. I'm trying to find these glasses. And I found something, but it wasn't quite right. They were too short and stubby. And then last night, when I got this little growler of wine at the dram shop here in Missoula, I didn't want to. I was like, "Do you sell glasses?" Because all of their like in-house glasses had the name on it, and they're like, "Oh yeah," and it's the perfect like Irishman size.
Yeah,
I guess it's a wine glass of sorts. So
I forget what that glass is called, but yeah. I love tumblers, like whiskey glasses or scotch glasses.
I can't turn this. It's like a jar. There we go.
Where's the bride when you need her?
I know. Okay. So, poured my adult beverage.
All right.
Cheers, you and anyone listening, drinking whatever you're drinking, whenever you're drinking
your beverage of choice. Yeah.
Here's Long Walker.
Yeah. Here's, buddy.
All right. So you were saying you saw, it's like, oh, I saw this other thing. What were you going to say?
Well, speaking of documentaries on Netflix, so we watched this true crime documentary called Don't Fuck with Cats.
I've heard a little bit about this.
Holy shit. Like, I have since, like, after we finished it, like, because it's a limited series. I think there's 4 episodes, and they're all like an hour long. And we did it over the course of a weekend. We watched all of it. They do kind of not focus on the guy's victim, which is arguably not good. I get it.
Is it one of those things where it's kind of glorifying the killer?
Yeah, a little bit.
Criticism.
And his victim is kind of just like a set piece to keep his story going, and that's like one of the criticisms, and I think it's totally valid, but it is engrossing nonetheless. Like, in this group of like internet Facebook users tracked this guy down and like he also gave a lot of information to them himself because he wanted them to catch on to who he was. And but he was fucking twisted, super twisted, super he was obsessed with becoming famous and being famous for like killing somebody. That's what he wanted.
Gross. I guess that's probably common for some of these people.
And it started where what kicked it all off was he posted a video that blew up of him murdering 2 kittens, basically.
Oh.
And posting it to the internet. And then this group starts because they get so pissed about it and tries to track him down, and a lot of stuff happens. And ultimately he ends up releasing like more of these cat videos, and then releases a video of him killing somebody. And
whoa, what platform is he putting this stuff on?
Like online. So the kitten video, the first one was just on YouTube. Like it just was on YouTube and fucked up. And then like the murder one was, I forget what site. They show all the sites and actually show like pieces of some of these videos. And which is super, it's really like gut wrenching, some of the stuff. And yeah, I don't know. It really is questionable, like what's entertainment and like, but it really like the angle of the story that is really appealing to watch is this idea that this group of internet strangers had, when he finally committed his murder, they had all the information and nobody wanted to listen to them. Like, this is the person you're looking for. This is what his name is. These are the last like few times we knew where he was. It's kind of creepy how they like to make you think like anybody could do this. They were able to take some photos that they had of him and basically zero down using Google Street View the apartment building this guy like took these photos in and everything. It's like, man, that's fucking crazy. And so if you look at it from that angle too, it's super interesting just to see like what you can do with the internet if you want to.
Yeah, he could become like a private detective, I guess.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was interesting for sure. So
I wonder, the bride has been watching a lot. She likes a lot of true crime stuff and has been just plowing through like series. And I wonder if she shied away from that one because of the killing of animals part.
Yeah, it was almost too hard for me to watch. Like even with them, but sometimes they let the audio keep going, but they don't show you what's so you hear a little bit more. And then it'll cut back when you're least expecting it to like, there's one point where he, I don't even want to say it. It's so gruesome, but he basically puts these kittens in a vacuum bag, like the kind of bags that you attach a vacuum to like suck all the air out of the bag.
Oh yeah.
And
whoa.
Yeah. And so then he does that. And then when he's done, he like pulls them out of the bag when they're and like plays with them. Like they're action figures almost, like,
whoa, oh my God.
And does like this awful stuff. And you don't see all that. But at one point, like they have one of the women, this woman who was a member of that Facebook group, like they have her describe what's going on in the video. And she like she's like, I've never even watched this fucking thing all the way through. Like, and she breaks down halfway through. And yeah, it's a little gruesome. Like that stuff is a little gruesome for sure.
Did they call it "Don't fuck with cats" to sort of say like because of this fucked up video, these people came after this guy, or that whole adage of like serial killers start by doing things of that sort before they graduate to people?
No, in the sense that internet, this woman also sets up the whole premise of that title early on, where she's like, there's this unwritten rule of the internet that rule number 0 is don't fuck with cats.
Okay.
Because they like, that's a big meme part. A big part of meme culture is cats. Like a lot of memes about cats, a lot of like funny videos about cats. And I think that's what she's alluding to. So yeah, rule 0 of the internet is don't fuck with cats.
Okay.
So,
huh.
Yeah. But from a true crime thing, like, it's a fascinating story. And what ultimately brought him down was he was so vain and like so wrapped up in his own story. He made a clean getaway with everything and went to an internet cafe because he wanted to look up what the current news was about him.
Yeah.
And like the guy who ran the internet cafe recognized him.
Oh.
So,
what year was this? There's still internet cafes?
yeah, I know. The early, like 2013, 15 maybe.
Oh, wow. Maybe it was like a retro thing.
So this was
already.
Berlin, you know.
Oh.
Well, so that is still a big thing in like a lot of parts of Asia and in Europe still. So, because vagabond kids, right? Like in the Europe thing, it makes sense because there's a lot of kids that like are backpacking and stuff. Still, that's still a thing that people do, you know. So, those kids need a place to be able to use the internet, I guess, and get on a real computer sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
So.
That's just the kind of thing. And so this whole thing takes place in Berlin? Like this guy is...
Oh, no. It takes, like, the one woman is from Nevada. The other guy is, like, they're all over the U.S. and his crimes he committed were in Canada. So,
okay.
Like Montreal and Toronto. So.
Huh. Well, I can't say I'm going to rush out, but I'm intrigued, so I'm glad to hear about it vicariously, I guess. That's probably the best means for me.
We just stumbled upon it. We started that and Key House, the show called Key House.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
on there.
I think the bride is watching that one. She says it's like sort of a horror thing. Am I thinking of the right thing?
Yeah. It's like fantasy.
Fantasy.
It's just, you know, they move into this house and there's all these different keys. And the keys do different things. Like the one like lets them open a mirror, and that's like a prison. People get lost inside the mirror. And one like opens the back of his head and lets him go inside his own imagination. And all this weird stuff. So that's pretty interesting so far. We're only a couple episodes of that in. It'll be like anything else. We'll start it. Oh, like we haven't even finished Castle Rock season 2 yet.
Oh yeah,
you know.
We could pivot. I was trying to think. There's a couple of things I could watch. One series, but the other would be my King Corner. If you want to jump into a quick King Corner.
Yeah, we can do a King Corner for sure.
Honey, come on over here, sugar buns. This machine just called me an asshole.
So the bride suggested that we watch The Outsider, which I haven't read the book yet, but I don't know. When she said it, I was like, all right, sure. So I believe it's an HBO show. We have a HBO, like put it onto our Amazon or something like that. But it's, I just found it like infinitely engrossing. I think there were like 6 or 7 episodes out at the time when we started. And we watched like one, not every day, but like kind of most days. Like we were just into it, and I was just, she's like, "What do you want to watch?" And usually I don't have usually that's sort of her department. She'll give me a couple things to choose from, and I'm like, this. I have weird rules about like, that's not a weeknight show, that's a weekend show. I don't know, very odd that way. But this was like an everyday show for me. I was just like, I just wanted to keep watching it. I am very engaged with it. And don't even mind, I guess, that I sort of look forward to reading the book now to kind of re-engage with that world or re-experience it from a different perspective, even though it's like an unpleasant story. You've read that one, right?
Yeah.
So,
what's the man is accused of committing a crime that was impossible for him to commit, essentially.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's irrefutable evidence both ways.
Yes, yeah,
that
exactly.
He committed the crime and that he did not. It was absolutely impossible for him to have committed the crime.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the what starts it. And then it's the events that unfold as a result of those two contradictions existing. So,
yeah, and where as far as they have I think her name is Holly something. She's this kind of
Holly Gibney.
Gibney, yeah, really cool character.
She's from the Mr. Mercedes trilogy.
Cool.
So like she's in all 3 of the Mr. Mercedes books, and then now she's in The Outsider, and I think there's been hints that she's going to be in his next novel. I think so. She's going to be like this character that keeps popping up in in these adventures. So
nice.
I don't know how much of a role she plays in the show because I haven't watched the show, but in the book, she doesn't come into the book until like the 3rd act. It's like real late in the book.
It's probably, well, I don't know how long the series is going to be, but I mean, if there's like 6 episodes I've seen, she probably doesn't come in to the very earliest would be the 3rd episode, maybe the 4th or something. So yeah, it takes a minute for her to show up as well.
Right.
But she's like, yeah, I really like all the character. Well, everyone in it it's really well done. Ben Mendelsohn is the detective, the main detective. Jason Bateman is the guy who is accused of doing the crime and being somewhere else. And he kind of, I think it's a show he's heading up. I only saw the first episode of Ozarks, but I think it's kind of a similar situation. And he directed maybe the first couple. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's like a mystery, kind of, but a supernatural mystery. It's you can taste the Stephen King on it, but it's also not quite. I mean, the Stephen King that I've been most engaged with recently. And I haven't read a book since finishing Christine, but is that kind of like early mid 80s. So I'm sure there's maybe more of this kind of mystery stuff that comes in after, but yeah, I don't know. I've really been enjoying that, and I guess previous was the Castle Rock season 2, which that one's there's some slog there. I definitely am curious to hear how it hits you, like once you've seen the rest of it, and I would definitely say that it picks up in like the intrigue, and I don't want to give much away, but
I really enjoyed that book a lot.
The Outsider.
And just like the supernatural stuff really doesn't kick in. There's allusions to some things that are, and you obviously, when you see the circumstances, how they have this irrefutable evidence both ways. Like, that there's some supernatural thing at play.
Yeah.
But it really doesn't get explained and come to the forefront until Holly Gibney comes on the scene. And so it's so much later in the book, like when it's happening, that up to that point, it feels like this true crime novel where you're just like, how the fuck did this happen? Like, what, like, and you get wrapped up in all the characters and both sides. Like the way, I don't know if they do this in the show, but in the book, the way that he's arrested, the way that the man is arrested plays really huge. Like, it's like his arrest is, they showboat, like they make sure they arrest him in front of like the whole town. So he's essentially guilty before they even like take him in for questioning, and so I don't know, I really like all that part. And then when the supernatural stuff started happening, it felt weird. It like mismatched. So I might like this movie a little more if it weaves it all together from the beginning.
There's a little bit of a foreshadowing with the supernatural, just kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it gives things. I mean, I don't think it gives anything away. Basically, they show kind of a hooded, shadowy figure in broad daylight at like I guess it'd be the scene where the Terry Maitland, is that the character who's accused, is like being marched into the courthouse or something like that. And
and
people
that's
are
where
gathered
he's
around. And he's shot. Yeah. There is like a shadowy figure in in the crowd watching, and you get a sense like something is off about this person. So it's really well done. Like the end of each episode, you're always like, oh, what happens next? It's really well segmented that way, and it's one of those things that comes out weekly. So we watched up to what was available. So like, I don't know what day it comes out on. Things are
Sundays,
about to.
I think that's Sundays.
Gosh, yeah. Things are about to pick up for the bride and I for some of like our ritual watching. Sunday night is like typical. Usually it's an AMC related show. So Walking Dead's coming back, and we still watch that, and also Better Call Saul. It's coming back, but now that's going to be on Sundays. So,
but that's last season, right? Like that show, I think is.
I think they might have extended it to one more beyond this one now.
Oh,
possibly.
Okay. Wow.
We should have asked our best friend Vince Gilligan when we talked to him on the streets of New York, but we didn't get around to it because then somebody else came up like all uncool. Well, we were super cool. This guy was like, big fan since 2008. Big fan since 2008. Big fan since 2002. We were like, okay, we'll see you later, Vince. Good luck with that. Is it going to be more Better Call Saul?
That's hilarious.
That show is spectacular. But anyway, so those, we'll be trying to keep up with those. Our Sunday night ritual has been The Watchmen, which has been awesome. Really great.
Yeah.
I'd heard that. I saw the movie, and that's, notoriously like one of the best regarded graphic novels like in history.
Yeah.
And I haven't most of my comic knowledge has to do with The Crow. But then I've read like certain seminal graphic novels, usually in the Batman realm. And I just haven't got around to Watchmen, but I saw the movie and I was like, it just didn't make much of an impact on me. But, and maybe you've heard this, but the TV show is not a retelling of that story. It's actually like a sequel to the whole thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it's like a new story. And, oh man.
I did not know that. I knew it. I thought it was like kind of a rebooting of that.
I mean, maybe in a way, but not in the way that it retells that.
Yeah.
Damon Lindelof is like the main guy, and from half the creative team behind the sustaining team behind Lost, and it's oh man, it's so well done. It contains like a bottle episode of the origin of a superhero, I guess we'll say, that is maybe one of the better, if not like the best, most satisfying superhero origin I've ever seen. I don't want to give it away.
Yeah.
But it was just the conceit of it and the execution. The execution of the whole show is like really top notch, and the cast is incredible. Regina King plays one of the main characters who I love. I love Jerry Maguire, the movie Jerry Maguire. One of my favorite things I love everything about that movie, honestly, but like I love Cuba Gooding Jr. anyway, and his character in that movie. But one of my favorite things in that movie is this scene where Regina King as Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character's wife, who's like this pro football player, she tells, like, he's negotiating his contract, and she just goes, no, baby, like, you're going to reject that shitty contract. And she goes, you are a strong, proud, splendid black man. And I'm always telling it is this amazing moment where she just like centers him. She's always like amazing. But I've like deeply loved her ever since that. And I'm always like telling the brides, like, why can't you say that to me? Or even just that sentiment. She always likes to say, because I'm not any of those things, but she's like, you know what I mean? Like the sentiment behind it. She maybe has once or twice, just, and but just anyway, but so I love Regina King, but she's so great in this as like one of these modern, sort of, I guess you could say superheroes, but like, she's perfect. Everybody's kind of perfect. And then the music is by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Oh, Jesus.
Which sometimes is not very showy, but there's this one theme that's like so like very identifiably Nine Inch Nails-esque that it's very, very cool. I mean, so I guess I'm recommending many things that you'll probably, see over the next few years or never.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have been watching, I guess, a lot of stuff, and a lot of it's been really excellent, and that's among them. Watchmen.
Awesome.
Yeah, late to a lot of parties, but
I need to give that one. We tried to watch that and just weren't in a good frame of mind. I think I need to give that one another try.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe, but I would say of the things we talked about, if you've given that a shot and weren't like into it right away, I mean, you probably would get into it, but it's not. I remember liking it right away.
Part of it is just time, you know.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah, a lot of this stuff. I think most everything we've mentioned, I have watched with the bride, and for things that I don't see with her, that list is very short.
I've been just playing a lot of pinball. I'm back in the league.
Oh
again,
yes.
So
how's that been?
Started the league. Pretty good. I need to text her. The lady who runs it has not been. She knows that there's a small group of us that aren't on Facebook, so we don't get the link to our stats and our standings.
Oh.
And I even mentioned that to her. And she's like, yeah, I just haven't got around to doing that. I'll do that this week. And she hasn't done it yet. But she was on. I was grouped with her this past week, and she totally just wiped this floor with me and the other guy that was grouped with us. She just won every game. It was fantastic every game. And she's like, I can't believe I'm played so well. Like, you guys are good players. I'm like, I'm not that good of a player. She's like, the computer doesn't lie, and you are ranked higher than you think you're ranked. And I'm like, I would know because I don't see those. But and she's like, touche, I will send that out. I was like, I'm not that good of a player. She's like, trust me, the computer doesn't lie. So I guess I'm doing decent.
That's cool.
So the machine that I got, this'll, by the time people hear this, the video will be available. So I guess it's really only a spoiler for you because it's only at 19% Dark Tower reference. 19% uploaded, but I got they released a Star Wars comic art themed pinball machine. And
whoa, what does that mean?
So
comic art?
It's based on the 80s Star Wars comics, like all the characters and art package. So
I didn't even realize there was such a thing, like with their own storylines and stuff back then.
No, like I think they were like based on the movies.
Oh,
like
okay. I did have one of those. I had the Return of the Jedi one. I still do.
Yeah. So I can send you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, let me send you this picture here. So this is a good one, and then I'll send you this one here, so you can see that. It also has a topper, like an R2-D2 topper.
Oh.
That is motorized and interacts with you while you play. So, like, it looks like R2 is when he's in the back of the X-Wing. So it's just his shoulders and his head. And he rotates around. And let me send you that, too. So those should be coming. So you can at least see what it looks like. See what I'm talking about. The style of art. But
oh, nice.
So the video I shot is like with that starting in a box, like in a giant cardboard box, and then being in the collection.
Oh, that R2 thing is so cool.
Yeah. It's so fantastic. Like,
and there's like a Death Star and Millennium Falcon in the playfield.
Yeah. And the Death Star, there's a mode where you have to blow up the Death Star, and when you do, it cracks open and the explosion is in there and it looks like it blows up. It's really awesome. There's a big loop under the Death Star, like there's a steel loop that loops all the way around the machine.
Yeah, I can see that.
When that is engaged, it's called the hyperspace hurry up, and you hit that shot, electromagnets will shoot the ball around that track. So it like goes super fast around, like you went into hyperspace. Yeah. It's awesome.
That's great.
There's a TIE fighter on there. If you blow up like 50 TIE fighters, you end up getting like TIE fighter multi-ball, which is really fun. There's a lot of, it's really it is the first game that I feel like playing it makes me a better player. Like it forces me to like improve my game because it's so fast and so hard and so brutal. Like it's really fucking brutal. But man, have I noticed how much my game has improved just in the little time that I've had it.
It even helps you be a better player on other games?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Like helps with my reflexes, helps with my shots, helps with my nudging, definitely, like the amount that you're able to move the machine. And then it's all based on the original trilogy. So there's no like, you know, if it was on there, Han would shoot first. Like
that's great.
but there's all this great footage that on the LCD screen.
Yeah, I was noticing there's a
while
sizable. Yeah. LCD.
Like while you are playing, there's footage from those movies that will play for the scenes of the game, and then it's the John Williams score. So it's all John Williams music like the whole time. So there's one. So the whole point of the game, your objectives, there's the Death Star, Tatooine, Hoth, Endor, and Death Star, Tatooine, Hoth, Endor, and is there one more planet?
Cloud City?
Maybe that's it. No, because that's in the Hoth missions. Because each one has 4 missions. Each one of the planets have 4 missions. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, 4 sounds right. That's right. And then each one has 4 missions. 3 missions underneath it. And then the main multi-ball, once you beat each one of those missions. And when I say that, like there's objectives you have to do for each one of the missions. But it's all tied to the movie, and it all has to do with you like escaping the Empire and fighting for the rebellion. It's really like it really feels like an experience when you're playing it. And it's one of the few machines that I get that experience with. So
that's great. Is it a new machine in general, or is it just new to you?
So it came out in 2017 is when it first launched. It's designed by Steve Ritchie, who's like a legend in pinball design. And it actually was not very popular. Like a lot of people did not like it. And just because I think it's just because it's so hard. Like it's really, really fucking hard. That's what she said. But all of this comic art was new to last year. Like they just started producing those like midway through last year. All the art packages before it was live stills. Like, so it looked like photorealistic was on the side of the cabinet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really think that this comic art that's what they should have launched with. It looks so much better than the photorealistic stills do. So art packages do. But like the playfield is exactly the same. The art on the playfield between the two looks exactly the same, except one is like comic style and the other one is like photorealistic style.
Oh, I see. You mean even like the same images of, Han, Luke?
Yeah, like the 4 heroes down at the bottom. And
yeah, you can see that.
Because the objective is you beat all those missions and you're going around and like completing tasks that actually happened in the movie. Like you have they have scenes from that will come up. Like you have to save the princess. That's the first Death Star mission. And there's like 4 shots that you have to make. And once you make one, a timer will start for you to make the next one. And if you can keep making those 4 shots before the timer runs out, you get more points. But each time you make one of those shots, you get a little clip of the progress of Luke, Han, and Chewie moving towards rescuing the princess from the Death Star. Like when, so. Yeah. And then the second mission on that is where you have to, What do you have to do on that one? I know the third one is like blow up the TIE fighters. Like you have to do a shot and then hit the TIE fighter, and then do another shot and hit the TIE fighter. And then that will get you to the point where you can play the last mission where you try to blow up the Death Star. There's like, it's just the light show is fantastic. And then you couple that with like the John Williams score and the footage, the good footage from the original trilogy with that beautiful art package and like the shaker motor and all, and then the R2 topper. It's just all, it's fantastic. It's really
awesome.
Really a good machine. And eventually, once it loads, there will be 40 minutes of unboxing.
You discovering, yeah.
Yeah.
I did
I
don't know. I don't think we talked about this. Did we talk about me ultimately posting that Bruce Springsteen unboxing like years after I shot it? Last time? You may have. Okay, maybe not. So one of the things that I've been doing recently too was listening to the volume 2 of his there's these beautiful like vinyl box sets that come out in 2014, and then I think maybe 17 or 18 since we've been doing the show of like Bruce Springsteen albums, up to through Born in the USA in 1984, and then the next volume came out of it's like Tunnel of Love through Tom Joad and the Greatest Hits. And so I think I shot unboxings for both of those, but I never posted them, or I waited too long, and you're like, you should just throw that up. People will like it, even though it's old and there's already. So I didn't, but when I was doing my best of the year sort of music mix, I wanted to reference that because of some of the things that were new to me or that I liked were because I was using those box sets and all these other things to go through as guides through Mr. Springsteen's catalog. And so the day I finished, I think I put them both together in one and just tossed it online. Like and we're waiting for it now. Like you hit the upload button and it takes a while and all this.
Yeah.
During that time, the Bruce Springsteen social media channels like launched like coming to vinyl for the first time, like the next basically wave of his career. They're not doing a box set, at least not that they've announced. But it was just so bizarre that and so I remember posting like because I do post about that and various other things on Instagram sometimes. And I was like, I thought when I readied this post that it would be completely irrelevant, like years old. And I was just doing it for this other reason, but it turns out to be kind of timely. And yeah, so I don't know. I haven't seen how many people have watched that, but it is, it's kind of funny, that whole unboxing thing. And it was a sort of serendipitous timing then for me with that.
That's awesome.
But yeah,
I still like we still get comments popping up on your unboxing videos. So
yeah, it's kind of fun. And actually, one of the early ones, maybe the ones that's been seen most, is the Joshua Tree box set. And
nice.
I had one of those little portable Crosley players, and like somebody was like thumbs down for the Crosley, which normally I wouldn't. We just don't get much engagement, so I don't remember how or if I engage that person or ask them or something. But I basically said, like, what is there, I've been wanting to get a better player that I haven't had one for a few years, and what do you recommend? And like that somebody recommended something, and I got that player.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I really like it. And then I think somebody else recently on that older video said something similar. and this time I just replied like, thank you. The situation has been remedied.
Yeah.
But I did take some advice about that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, man. But I'm excited. So I basically, for like the last couple of years, have been going through the Springsteen catalog in that way. I'd gone through the first wave of like Born in the USA before. But so I just got through like Tom Joad and the Ghost of Tom Joad, which I think I'd buzzed through but didn't really listen to. And so there's this great thing. Like I have this book that Springsteen published in 1998 that's just his song lyrics, pictures from the sort of era of the album, and then like these introductions to it. And a lot of that, it's long out of print, but a lot of that got rolled into his autobiography. And so like I have this book of printed interviews, this guy, he takes his work very seriously, and so he gives great interviews about stuff. And I ping pong between those two things. Like I do them by album and kind of go along, and then I've got the music video collection. I'll watch the music videos correspond, and then I just got this new book. Anyway, so I've had a lot of fun. It's been kind of a study, but that's just the way I kind of consume things a lot of times. But I just finished all of that so I guess a lot of Ghost of Tom Joad was based. I mean, the Tom Joad characters from Grapes of Wrath. I'd never seen or read that book. And I watched that movie for the first time, and I was like, holy shit. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's like pretty fucking old news, but I was blown away by that.
Pretty depressing.
Yeah, but like kind of inspiring in a way, like the end.
Yeah.
And that was the thing that really got me to want to watch it is like there's this quote in the song where it says, and Tom said, quote, and he's like, wherever there's a cop beating a guy, wherever there's a new unborn baby crying, wherever there's the blood and hatred in the air. It's like great, like, language. It's like, listen for me, Ma, I'll be there, where people are fighting. So there's something kind of inspiring about that. And anyway, so I saw that recently, and I'm just going through all that and enjoying that's kind of. And then there's also this great resource for his live recordings that publishes pretty regularly, and it's a company called Nugs. So it's like for each album, I can go through all these things and then go find the corresponding tour and like listen to a show from it or two, and kind of get a taste of that. It's been really fun. But I'm at this kind of pivoting point, and with the new Pearl Jam album about to drop, I'm going to go back and do all that for Pearl Jam for the first time in 10 years or something, maybe more. But they've been dropping a couple songs from that, and it sounds pretty cool. The Dance of the Clairvoyance I really like. They just put one out the other day, a teaser for Blood.
What was
Super Wolf
the
Blood
single they
Moon.
released before that?
That was the first one, Dance of the Clairvoyance, and now there's one about like Super Blood Wolf Moon or something. That is not.
I heard one.
Not
I
quite
did
as
like
catchy
it
for me. But.
I like the new Green Day single that was out too.
Oh, I haven't heard that. I didn't even know there was one.
Yeah. Rage Against the Machine announced a tour.
Really?
Did you hear that?
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
like they're like a revival tour or reunion tour.
I never listened to. That's one of those bands where I'm like, I bet I would love it. And I just haven't. I've just because when I describe the process that I'll sometimes go through when I dig into someone's career, it's time intensive and a commitment. But they're on that short list of like people that I know I'll like really love, but just haven't taken the time yet. So maybe now that'll be a good excuse.
Oh yeah, no. They're unique. I remember it was my adult life before I finally appreciated them. Same with Beastie Boys. Like I just could not. I know that sounds awful, but I grew up in like the prime Beastie Boys time, like where all their stuff was coming out, and it just didn't appeal to me until I was a grown up,
I don't, they still don't. I mean, I respect the idea of them and their ethos and all that, but that they're not on the list.
Yeah.
The master list.
Yeah.
The all important what Dave's listening to list.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Stupid. Speaking of stupid, I have a JCVD and Me. Like I have enough things to warrant a segment for that. If you're willing to listen.
Yeah, let's do it.
So okay. The I guess what would kick this off is that we had the crossover episode with the Jean Pod Van Damme cast. John and Jeff over there, and they've been on a hiatus as they caught up with Van Damme's career, and then went through any related like 6 degrees of Van Damme type thing that they could do by the time last year that I discovered them, and eventually we did the crossover episode. And the idea with the crossover episode is that it would, we toyed around with like, would we some of the ones on other podcasts I've heard, it's like the first half of a conversation would be at one person's show, and you got to go over to the other to hear the conclusion of the conversation. But what we elected to do between our two shows is just have the same conversation wrapped up in presented on each show to each audience. And so John communicates with me on Twitter about Van Damme stuff or the slow progress of like getting this crossover episode ultimately published, as I think Jeff's schedule has changed a lot, and I think John's been sick a lot and doing a lot of other things. I think I mentioned in our wrap-up show like he did a professional wrestling course himself. Anyway, but so he said that they'd recorded their wraparound or their intro for that, and that'll be coming out on their channel soon. I think John's like in Germany right now though or something. So I don't know if that will be published by the time this comes out or when that'll happen, but there's been major progress. So, but I think in some of this back and forth, he just reached out to me. He's like, hey, this other, because there's another Jean Pod. It's actually called Jean Pod Van Damme, not Jean Pod Van Damme cast, but just Jean Pod Van Damme. That I think when John and Jeff first started recording and they had checked, there weren't other Van Damme shows, but I think in the time when they were kind of amassing their first handful of episodes before they started releasing them, the another one started to publish. And so, and then they had him on their show, this guy Marcus Jones that hosts that show. Jean Pod Van Damme is what the name of that one is. And it has a Twitter page and all this, but I couldn't find anywhere to listen to it. And so like John from the Jean Pod Van Damme cast, oh my God, he was like, hey, you can still hear this on this Google platform, but I couldn't figure it out. I don't have a Windows machine or whatever. I couldn't, like, you can't go to the Apple store and get like a Google podcast player. You got to use the Apple one. So it just wasn't working out. And then I was like, well, I wonder if I just could find this guy online, maybe John would help me or something. Like, would he maybe just let me hear this run of the show? Because he did the same thing, like went through the career, went through the like a movie per episode. So I found him, and I was like, I will be happy to. I just want to hear the run. You won't find a more appreciative audience. Like, I really enjoy this man and his work and podcast about it. So could you see it in your heart to share it with me? I would help you get it on YouTube if you want, or something, just like reciprocal labor. I think I just basically asked if they'd be open to sharing it. And he got back to me like right away. He's like, yeah, sure. And so ultimately I have had a hand in getting video versions, which is kind of the same as ours right now, where there's no real video component other than like a still image, and then using YouTube as the distribution platform. But if you go to Crushed Celluloid, you can the episodes are starting to roll out of Jean Pod Van Damme, and that's headed up by Marcus Jones. And I've been listening privately. There's a couple that never did come out on his like podcast feed that I guess for some reason he just never got around to publishing. But I've been really enjoying that. It's different than John and Jeff's show in that it's still somebody with the same kind of youthful, and he's a similar generation to them, where like they talk a lot about like seeing stuff on TNT and all this, and different than like me being a 10-year-old seeing Lionheart in the theater type thing. But the general sort of love for Van Damme is there, but also, if you love Van Damme and you still love Van Damme, you have to have it. He's not like without folly or like in his personal life or in film, so like there's always
right,
and he's great. Thankfully he's got a great sense of humor about himself, etc. But so all of that kind of comes into play where you're able to kind of embrace the whole thing if you do, as the hosts of these podcasts do. And somehow I didn't end up hosting one on my own, but but the way that the Marcus's show is different is that Marcus is also a general kind of film geek. Not just of genre cinema, but of also like kind of more, I don't know, I guess let's say arty stuff or something like that. But he's involved in this, I don't know if it still exists, but the Dissolve Film Group. So it's a lot of like, I mean, I'll say film snob. I hope no one takes offense to that. But like people that have strong opinions, as you do sometimes when you're younger, perhaps throughout your life, if that's your personality, of about what is good and what is bad in movies and cinema and stuff like that. So people are passionate about it. So Marcus is one of those people, but he also is just like loves Van Damme movies, and he loves like kind of trashy action cinema or whatever. And so he'll invite someone on who picks one of Van Damme's movies, but maybe has never seen any Van Damme movies, and they kind of evaluate them from this different perspective with him, who loves it, but also can kind of see them where they are and discuss things from a different perspective. So I've really been enjoying that. I think they've so I put them up on YouTube, and then he goes through and puts in like the metadata and then publishes them publicly as he sees fit. And I think there's Bloodsport and the Friends episode and Hard Target there so far over at Crushed Celluloid. So that was item 1 and 2, I guess, of my Jean-Claude Van Damme corner. similarly with the podcast angle, Mr. Van Dam is going to be hosting a podcast of his own, which I don't know if we talked about.
Yeah, we
did
didn't talk about it. I remember the text, but I
yeah. So it's called Damn Good Fight. And he's co-hosting with his son Chris. And I guess they're going to just kind of talk to people in probably various fields, but just like the tenacity or whatever their journey is to achieve some level of success, I guess. But it's there's like I think it's damngoodfight.com. Let me double check that real quick. But there's like a sample up, and you can sign up for a mailing list to be notified when episodes start to roll out. But it seems to be a fun dynamic where JC is pretty kooky, and and his son kind of grounds him a bit, but also there's like a knowing back and forth where I think Van Damme is playing into the role of maybe not understanding this, that, or the other, and it's I don't know, it's a fun like kind of. It's not like Abbott and Costello exactly, but they're kind of a comedy duo, at least in the teaser. So I think always though it comes down to Van Damme being like, I came to this country and I had a dream. So that's something to look forward to for me. And then he started to do, remember he had done that like training series. You could sign up to train with Van Damme, and I did so, and I screen scraped them knowing that they would disappear from the internet at some point, which happened much sooner than I anticipated. But so I don't know where it will go yet exactly, but he did a live Facebook stream of a kind of a training session similar to that, but like at Facebook headquarters with like a live audience, and he's wearing like a gi, kind of like a Cobra Kai gi with like the cut off shoulders. It's a black gi. Yeah. And then like a ball cap with with JCVD across the.
Because he's bald.
Probably, yeah. So that's happening.
Oh my gosh, this is fantastic.
There's a lot going on.
Like super, super fantastic. Holy jeez.
That's nice to be there. Thank you. And then lastly, this hasn't happened yet, but it will before we record next. The bride and I are going to a live Mystery Science Theater 3000 taping in Minneapolis.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, of No Retreat, No Surrender.
Oh, yes.
The Van Damme's American screen debut, other than his like dancing in the background of Breakin'.
So is this for the Netflix?
So that is
Science Theater
the news,
or is this
JCVD
the Riff Tracks
me.
guy?
Yeah, and actually, I think I learned from the Marcus's podcast that there is a riff tracks for it, because on the episode for No Retreat, No Surrender, like there should be a Mystery Science Theater for this, and this was like in 2017, maybe they were saying this, and I was like, oh my god, what are the odds? I'm about to go to one, and then no sooner did I like pause the podcast to type that in a note that I was gonna send to Marcus, as then I hit unpause, and he's like, actually, there's a riff tracks of that movie. I was like, oh wait, what? So. I don't know if because those are the riff tracks that were like just audio only. Is that right? And then you can sync them yourself.
They tell you when to start playing the DVD on the track.
I see.
And so then you'd like listen with your iPod or your phone or whatever and headphones on while the movie's playing on your normal TV like it normally would.
Huh.
But it's all the guys. It's original cast members from Mystery Science Theater 3000.
Yeah, not like the new Jonah Ray, Patton Oswalt. I think they're the ones.
Yeah, that is all new cast. The robots are the same, but they're all voiced by new people. So, but I'm sorry because you cut out a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When I asked, so like this is for the Netflix show, right? Like
actually,
live taping for the Netflix show.
I'm looking online and it says join us to see creator Joel Hodgson, Tom Servo, and Crow riffing like you've never seen them in person.
Oh wow, yeah. So that's cool. So that's the original. That's Oh man, you were in for a treat, sir.
I mean, I'm just excited to see No Retreat, No Surrender on the big screen.
Yeah.
Jason Stillwell, man, and the ghost of Bruce Lee.
Well, they rip on it the whole time, though. That's going to be the fun part.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's... Well, and now I'm wondering, is this then just them, like a band would perform their songs? Are they just going to perform their riff tracks routine? I wonder.
Yeah, no, that is weird.
I haven't heard it, so
would
it'd
they
be new
sit
to
in
me.
the front row? Like,
right.
So you just see the back of their head the whole time, and then they just like talking to microphones?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, that's weird. Weird.
But, so that's coming up anyway. But
awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic.
Some
So
things.
Jean-Claude, JCVD, and me, and you.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Not with me and you.
No.
It doesn't work though when I say it. You have to say it.
It is me that is spending so much time with the guy. I love these podcasts, both to hear people like kind of talk about those movies, but also it takes a long time, to sit down and watch the movies, takes time that I'm just not willing to dedicate now. But I'm so familiar with many of them that just hearing them talk about them, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's a fun way to. And then there's some that I actually haven't seen, and it's weird, like on the Jean-Pod Van Damme. They're big fans. The new one that I'm listening to that was previously unavailable for a while. They're really big fans of like the most recent, I want to say it's like 2010 or 11 forward sequels of Universal Soldier. And again, it's like these people approaching it from a different angle than like someone who just loved him growing up, where they're like evaluating them more objectively. And I remember I bought one of those, Regeneration, I think it's called, on DVD. I put it in the DVD player when I was living in Cleveland Heights, and like the first scene that came up was like so brutal, and I was just like, I don't think I even want to watch this.
Yeah.
But now I'm all intrigued by like hearing them talk about that, and then the one that follows that is some sort of weird noir movie, and I don't know, it's just been fun for me, these podcasts.
Awesome.
But yeah, many things.
I've been listening to. I guess I can tack this onto the King Corner. But I have been listening to the Institute. I've been working my way through that.
Cool.
And which is the like sequel to Firestarter, or the loose sequel to Firestarter. And other than the like shady black op organization that's like keeping these psychic kids, that's really the only, there hasn't been like similar characters or anything like that.
Okay. It's the Institute, literally.
Yeah. So that it's been good. I just put together a list of good audiobooks of Stephen King's to listen to for one of the guys that I work with.
What from memory, what can you recall? So you were like, these are some particularly good ones.
Oh yeah, like seminal ones, like ones that he should start with. It, of course, is a masterpiece. The Stand. I think I've had Salem's Lot in there, the Dark Tower series for sure. Not a lot of stuff from the 90s. Isn't that funny? Tommy Knockers. I love the Tommy Knockers. Such a good book.
Was that 90s?
Those were the big
or
ones.
did that as a book come out in the 80s?
I think that came out maybe in the early 90s. Late 80s, early 90s. 80, 89, 87. That's a good question. Let's find out.
The one that would be next for me, I think, is the word dragon in it? I want to say Dragon Eyes.
Eyes of the Dragon?
Okay. Oh, that's funny, because that one of the Van Damme movies I haven't seen, but may still not, based on both podcasts, not recommending it. It's called Dragon Eyes. But so Eyes of the Dragon. Yeah.
Eyes of the Dragon.
I think I started
Tommy Knockers, November 10th, 1987.
Oh, nicely done.
Nice. Yeah.
I understand. Like, that's the kind of thing that I know, too, like about certain stuff that I wish I knew useful things, but really I just know that type of thing.
I was like, oh, Tommy Knockers, I believe that was 87, 89, maybe. Let me see. Oh, 87. Yes, that's the year.
Yeah, I really haven't been listening to any audiobooks. I've been listening, I guess, to a lot of music, and then a lot of the music that I was listening to in order to get it up on the Dreaming Out Loud site. But I think I'm right close to I'm right close to being the right thing to listen to would be Dark Tower books. And so I feel like, I don't know why, but I feel like summer's a good time for that sort of thing.
Oh no, it's good. Especially if it takes you into the fall, like as it's ending. Like that's a great time to listen to it, for sure.
Would you still have it up in front of you, the library thing, or would you close it?
I don't have any library thing up. I just typed in when was Topping Knockers published.
A lot of times I go to the Stephen King site for that, and they have like they call it the library.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember what would be after the dragon one. It might be like the second Dark Tower book. I'm not sure, but thanks.
Let me see
like
here.
to just wildly question and then not take action to find out.
Let's see here. Eyes of the Dragon, yeah, drawing a 3, which is yes, the second.
That's the
one.
second. Okay. That's kind of what I was thinking. I was do Eyes of the Dragon.
I would do Eyes of the Dragon. So listen to that first, because it's super short. It's a fairy tale, and it's read very well.
Cool.
And then do the whole Dark Tower series.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's the route I would go.
All right.
And I would just do the updated and revised edition of the Gunslinger, like
that one will be read by
George Guidall.
Guidall, which whatever previous one would not be.
Yeah.
Okay.
The original version of it was read by Muller.
Okay, so Guidall. Okay.
Frank Muller. Yeah.
It's funny. I listened to. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I just the revised and updated edition just feels it creates more continuity for the whole series. He fixes some contradictions that were created later on in the series. So
cool. Yeah, I'll go with that one. I was realizing, or because of hearing the Cycle of the Werewolf audio that you hooked me up with, I realized that some of the maybe less well read, or like not like a Frank Muller or whatever, might be not just audiobooks, but like series for the blind.
It very well could be,
because it says that at the end of it. It's like, for the library of books for the blind. I'm like, oh, so maybe like Rage is that kind of thing too, where it's like,
come on, you dipshit motherfucker. Like,
yeah, and
I just don't think that. So I remember getting from the library this audiobook version of The Hobbit, and it was like big. It was like this big. And because it was unabridged and it was on cassettes,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And I remember I couldn't listen to it because it was read. I was younger.
It was like so dry.
And audiobooks weren't my thing. And it was read like Rage, where there was it was just, I'm just reading the words that are on this page. I'm not reading the story. I'm not telling the story. I'm reading the story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what audiobooks were until you started getting readers like George Guidall and Frank Muller who were like, no, let's actually tell the story while we're reading it,
Right, yeah.
And I could see, so I've had some people tell me I don't like audiobooks because I don't like having some other person's version of the characters I like picturing what they sound like myself and build, like that's part of the experience of reading for me. That's what I've heard people say. I totally get that. But I would much rather have somebody, if I'm going to listen to an audiobook, telling the story versus just reading it, for sure.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
But I think some of those early ones, like they're obviously like ripped from a cassette, like you can still hear like the analog buzz, like fuzz sound, on them. And
yeah.
And I think that was just because he was not like, he was Stephen King. Even at this time, like he had some notoriety, but just there wasn't a market like there is now for audiobooks. And I can imagine like when it was just cassettes, they wouldn't be marketable at all. Like, he hated abridgments, and so all of his books would have to be that, like 45 cassette tapes, like to get one book. Like, that's not like cost effective at all.
Right.
So,
to make probably either. So there's a lot fewer of them.
So I could see where some of these like lesser publications that weren't these huge giant like New York Times bestsellers, that they just kind of got the like, we have to do this to fulfill some requirement. Like this reading is for the blind type thing,
It's fun. We're kind of lucky in some ways that I'm not home, because I earmarked, because I had listened to that Cycle of the Werewolf audiobook, because I had read that one because it was short. Like, I read it on the plane or something last year. But I read the screenplay, which I talked a little bit about, like how the werewolf talked and stuff. But I had earmarked a handful of passages because the descriptions is the first and only so far Stephen King screenplay that I've read. And it's just hilarious. Like, there's things in there. He's like, well, I'm sure the director will want to do something like this. It's like so casual. He's like, I don't know, maybe we're pointed up from beneath. It was the screen direction. And it wasn't always, but there's a handful of times the screen direction was just, it made me laugh. Like, I could hear him as the author, or just as Stephen King, the personality kind of coming through. Or sometimes it's like, I don't know, the director will shoot as will, but like other times it's like, I don't know, we might want to see this, or we're probably going to, or I'm sure it's going to be this. Just like, what voice is this?
Oh, that's awesome.
Anyway, that was fun.
Yeah.
But did you want to do goals? I know we had teased that last time, and I didn't know if you'd already like had them prepared at that time, or if you hadn't even really dug into it yet.
I'm not ready yet to talk about goals.
Yeah, that's all right.
I haven't really like formalized or really even kicked them off the ground yet. I mean, I have this thing. I have this list. This is that's my goals right there. That's these 6 words.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I just wanted to be minimalistic, so I didn't have to think about it. So
could do. I mean, not necessarily for the conversation. I just mean for life.
Yeah.
Doesn't need. You had a Venn diagram last year.
Yeah, it's just these 6 things that if I can just remember to do these things, like, I think I'll be better. But that's just to keep these in the forefront, and then, but I need to have a time budget. I really need to like figure that part out of my life right now, so that I'm not getting anything done. Like, it took me like 2 weeks to just edit this video that really iMovie did most of everything. I just don't get anything done. So I think if I really make this time budget, like, that'll help, where I just say, okay, this time is for this thing, this activity, so that I don't have to think about, well, what do you want to do with this limited amount of time you have? That part's already figured out, so I can just jump right into doing that thing. So, yeah, maybe March, maybe March we'll talk about goals.
Yeah.
And I'll have some stuff firmed up then. So,
yeah, no rush, no pressure. I mean, if mine were much less. Like, I think last year when you shared yours, I didn't really have mine yet, and it took me a while, and I went through this exhaustive sort of process of examining my journal and practices first, and then. But so this year it was more just like refining what I did last year. So,
awesome.
It was very helpful for me to have done it the way I did it last year, and the show was a good excuse for me to do that. But it's not something that is especially important to me to share, so we don't have to do them ever, really. If you find if it doesn't come around to it,
I will have much. I will be much more prepared to talk about them, I think, next month. So
cool. Well, it sounds like you've been doing some like good stuff that I know you want to do, like be intentional about like spending time with humans and stuff, and so these pinball parties and stuff, and the league. It's all good stuff.
That was all good. I have. Well, I'll leave on this. We'll wrap on this like little fun anecdote. I destroyed our toilet in our house.
Go on.
This was a nightmare when it happened. I can laugh about it now, but it was awful. Just in the sense of, I know you don't watch fail videos, but a common thing in fail videos are people that are recording and trying to be funny by putting firecrackers in toilets, and usually the toilet just explodes, like the whole thing explodes.
Oh, whoa.
And it's like kids will do it at like parties or rentals or whatever, and I'm just like, motherfucker, do you know how devastating, like, how would you even deal with that? How would you deal with a toilet just like 1 second being a toilet and the next second just being a fucking disaster, right? Like, how do you deal with that in your life? And I would see this happening in these, like, not all the time, not every fail, like, compilation, but every, like, 20 of them, there would be one of those where a toilet would just, one frame, it's a toilet, and the next frame, it's a fucking disaster, right? Like, and so
this language for some reason, because I know you're talking about like physical destruction through like a firecracker, but all I can think of is my experiences with that privately.
Well, I mean, just think of what a toilet is, like, and what it does, and then it holds 2 gallons of water. Water is like the most destructive force on the planet, right? And so I destroyed a toilet, and it wasn't that I just destroyed a toilet. It was a night that, like, we were getting an ice storm. It was 8:45 p.m. and Lowe's closed at 10. So, like, went to go to use the bathroom. Through a series of unfortunate events, the tank of the toilet that holds all the water for when you flush it cracked, and then emptied out all over, and then the water is still on. So, so
you're talking about the top that's like behind you if you're sitting down.
Yeah.
Oh man. And were you sitting down at the time?
And so, so what happened was I didn't look. And I tried to sit. I was gonna sit down, and the seat was up, and so I sat and fell back. And when I fell back, it hit that tank and cracked it. And then all this water was everywhere, just instantly, just water, just up to my ankles everywhere in the bathroom. Like, I'm just like, where the fuck is this water coming from? I thought the bidet was on. It wasn't the bidet. It was just like every towel we had comes out. All over the floor to like sop up all this water. I finally get the water turned off. I had a guest over. We were playing pinball.
You weren't alone in the house at the time?
What's that?
You had someone over at the time?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I was like, I'm sorry, you got to go. I have to go buy a toilet. Like, I never have put a toilet in before. Like, and I'm like, okay, you can do this. Like, you can put it, like, I went from never having, like, from thinking somewhere in my brain, the highest level of crisis that you could ever have to deal with is your toilet exploding, right? Like, I went from that to like, and I got to put a toilet in now. Like, like, and so I went and I had a toilet. I didn't have it installed, but I had a toilet in my house ready to be installed in less than an hour after it broke, right? But then I had to make multiple trips to like 24-hour Walmarts because our house is fucking outrageous and not everything is like the way it should be. So I would be like, oh, now I need this thing. So I'd have to go back to Walmart and get another thing. It was like I was up till 3 a.m. trying to like get this thing. I finally got it all put in and it leaned and I'm just like, this isn't right. So the next day I took it all out again and like reinstalled it, but it's all, then I talked to my landlord and I'm like, this is what happened. I was like, my fucking fault. Sorry. But I put it in. I didn't want to bother you. but can you come over and look at it just to make sure that it's up to you're okay with it? And he's like, oh, you did an excellent job. It looks great. And I'm like, awesome. So, yeah, man, just when you think, like, what's the worst thing that can happen to you? Your toilet exploding, and then it happens to you. You can, like, I didn't handle myself very well in the moment. I will admit that. But in hindsight, I still got the fucking toilet installed. Like, I was able to deal with that problem. Like, it's like,
what do you mean?
Not the end of the fucking world. Just
bolt
imagine,
downstairs and you're like, get the fuck out of here.
all those things. What
are you gonna do it?
Dripping water. Like, I have like like one leg of my jeans is wet, literally from my belt loops down to the ankle. The other leg completely dry. How did that happen? Like, I don't know how that happened. Fucking crazy.
Oh my God.
Just like pouring water everywhere and just outrageous. So, yeah, but they sell a whole toilet in a box. It's got everything you need in it.
Huh.
As long as like your house is set up properly, which mine is not. So, but yeah,
both of ours could use.
All I could think of was I was like, we got to shit in the morning. Our morning time is our shit time. Like, that's when we shit. What are we gonna do if we can't shit?
I think everyone can relate to that. Yeah,
it's a crisis. Like,
that is a crisis.
I mean, you have two toilets. We have a toilet. That's what we have.
Oh no. Like, you handled it.
Yeah. Ash was volunteering, and like I couldn't get a hold of her, so I'm just like, it's great. It's noble what you're doing, but in a fucking emergency, I need to get in touch with you. Like,
we are shit. What is shit?
Our toilet is gone. We got to shit in the morning.
I was gonna say I hope you left a message to that effect, but I guess not. But that would be a hilarious message.
There's probably I'm sure there's text messages that like, oh yeah,
oh my goodness,
yeah. So
that's
and then I'm telling my landlord, he's like, well, what kind of toilet did you buy? I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what does that mean? It's a toilet, the kind that flushes, like, and he's like, well, they got this chair height. I'm like, yeah, I got chair height. He's like, oh, that's a good kind. Like, you got a good one.
Yeah. Thanks for the tip. Yeah. They're doing me a favor of installing it. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, I broke the fucking toilet. I'm not going to call him over at Corridor 9.
Yeah, before the ice storm or whatever. Oh, man.
He lives like 40 minutes away. Like, come install a toilet that, my fat ass broke because I didn't happen to notice the seat was up, Like,
that's bad enough when that happens just to fall in to begin with. Like, with the have it end.
Oh,
with the devastation and then the burden of needing to fix it before an ice storm at 8:45.
Oh, yeah.
So you could shit in the morning.
Awful.
Oh. Well, when that happens to me, I'll just think to myself, like, I can do this. Palmer did this.
Yeah.
Just good. Just one step at a time here.
Two YouTube videos. I had YouTube playing over my car. I wasn't watching the video.
Yes,
but like so I could listen to like what to do, and was in Lowe's and out of Lowe's and back in my house in 45 minutes with the toilet part. And what really threw me off is I bought like these waxless seals, like, so toilets sealed to the floor with a wax ring. I don't know if you know this, but it's like it's like this really thick brown, why they couldn't pick a different color, sticky wax. Like, it's like, think beeswax almost, how like that's pliable and like stringy almost, and you smush it into the bottom of the toilet, and then that smushes down on the like pipe, the drain pipe.
Okay.
And it creates a seal. But when you pull, like, every time you pull a toilet off and put it back on, you need to put a new one of those. You have to clean all that wax off and then put a new wax ring on there. And it's fucking gross. So they have since, in the last, I don't know how long, have made waxless seals that use like this special foam, and they're like guaranteed for 10 years, and they compress down. But you can reposition the toilet. You can take the toilet off and on, and no leaking with those. But so I bought one of those, but because the way that my subfloor is so much higher than the drain, I needed to use two. So that's one of the things I needed to go back for, was to get two of those.
Well, and
get a second one of those.
Yeah, you couldn't know that ahead of time. I mean,
no, I wouldn't have known that ahead of time.
Yeah.
So
that's good problem solving. Great story.
Oh man, Jesus, it was fucking horrendous. At the time, it sucked. Now it's funny, but man, yeah, my biggest concern was like, we have one toilet, we both shit in the morning, like that's both of our shit times. I don't want to shit at work. Like, we got to figure this out. We got to solve this toilet problem, you know? Yeah. So
I have certain times too. I can relate to that. But I remember I think it's even like an early pre-podcast, like clandestine Twitter post of the shit the bride says. And it was more just private between she and I. It was something, I don't know what the whole quote was, but the end of it was like, there's no special time for pooping. This is like her experience. Because I think I was something similar.
There is totally a special time for pooping. That's how you put your body on a schedule.
On a schedule, yeah. You can plan for it. You're not caught unawares.
And if you miss that time, it will fuck you up.
Yeah, that's a bad day.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know it's going to be a bad day.
Yes. Oh, Jesus. So the moral of the story is, if you think, if you're like, that ever happens to me, that could probably be the most terrible thing that could ever happen. I don't know if I'd ever be able to handle that situation. Two things are going to happen. The first is the universe is going to say, fuck you. Guess what's going to happen to you? That we're definitely going to make sure that happens to you now that you said you won't be able to handle it. And the reason the universe does that to you is because it says, yeah, you can't handle it, and you figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, because if morning's your shit time and you don't have a fucking toilet, you know what you do? You do whatever you have to get a fucking toilet installed, and that's what I did.
Fucking A. Well, I'm proud of you. You pulled it off.
Yeah. Man, yeah. So the box, I remembered that because the box for the new toilet is sitting right here next to me. So,
that's amazing.
Outrageous. That was a good adventure. So.
I'll say memorable for me too now.
Yeah. But yeah, so the unboxing of the pinball, the Star Wars pinball, that will be up by the time this launches. Head over to youtube.com/longwalkshortdrink, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we earned that shit.
Because we have a unique URL, and subscribe over there. We're still working on getting the live streams back up. I need to see, that's another thing. I know what I need to do. It's just chiseling in the time to do it. So hopefully that'll happen soon. But head over to youtube.com/longwalkshortdrink. Make sure you subscribe, ring the bell. Dave puts all of these episodes up there. Head over to audibletrial.com/LWSD. Start your free Audible trial. Download what's the HBO show again? The Watcher.
Oh, Watchmen. Yeah.
The Watchmen. The Institute, Eye of the Dragon, any of the Dark Tower books, any of those.
And The Outsider, probably, right? Is that?
Oh, The Outsider. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm sorry. I said the wrong thing, because the Watchmen's a graphic novel. So
yeah, that one will not be on audio probably. Jeez. You can download these, an audio version from any of your podcasting apps, Stitcher, iTunes. Leave us a review on one of those things. That'd be fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
We need to figure out how to get on Spotify podcast. Somebody asked me today if our podcast was on Spotify, and we were not on there. So maybe coming soon to Spotify near you.
Indeed. I believe they're more selective, but we might be able to. We might be able to
maybe.
get on. I can't remember when I last looked. It was, But now, you never know. I'll look into it.
And follow us at LWSD Pod on Twitter. All right,
well,
man.
Get some sleep. My best to Ashen the Animals.
Awesome.
All right,
dude.
Be well, my friend.
Yep, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
All right. Yep, bye.